Hey guys, Super Rugby Pacific round 13 is coming up this weekend. The team sheets are out. I've gone over them to see who's in, who's out, and I will be making my predictions about how these games will play out and what the final scores might be. Coming up first on Friday night, we have the Drua versus the Blues in Fiji in Suva. Conditions for this game, it looks like there's a decent chance it might be wet there on Friday night. I think this will favor the Blues if that comes to pass, just by making things a bit more forwards focused and less suitable for that running style of rugby the Drua like to play. But the forecast can change, so we'll see what happens there. Looking at the lineups for the Drua, looks pretty similar to what they had last week for that big win over the Reds. Went down to the wire, and the Drua, they pulled it out of the bag. They have no Antonio Wanga this week. I believe he did pick up an injury last week in that game. Another thing of note in this lineup is that Lagana Masi, he's actually starting at fullback. I don't think we've seen that at all this year. He's been on the wing for them most of the time, and he's probably been their best back this year. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens with him in the 15 jersey. Kind of wonder if he'll stick to his winger instincts and carry the ball back, ball in hand, rather than kicking it. Might not be the smartest way to play, but if that happens, I will be interested to see it play out. For the Blues, a very strong team in terms of who's actually available for them. They do still have some big names out due to injury, like, of course, Caleb Clark, and I think Mark Talia is still out as well. So yeah, if you look at the wings, AJ Lamb, he is starting at 11. Corey Evans at fullback. Cole Forbes on that right wing. I believe Perifetta, he did get injured last week, so he is gone. The new guy, Chavi Ta'ali, he stays in the 12 jersey. And looking at the forwards, things look pretty similar. All the big names are there. Tofa Funaki, he gets another start as well. Finley Christie back up on the bench. So yeah, the Blues, they're definitely not holding much back here. They are aware that, yeah, playing the Drua in Fiji, it's tough. It can be a banana skin, but I do feel like the Blues should be able to take this game just because the way they play, it is kind of the kryptonite for the Drua. Like they play that tight forwards grinding game. Like they're happy to just be patient, ball in hand, carry the ball close to the ruck. And that's been tough for the Drua to deal with this year. Like they do tend to get frustrated. They do tend to give away penalties when coming up against that sort of play. And that's what you have to do when you when you play against the Drua. Like you can't fall into the trap of playing their game, like trying to throw it around off turnover ball and getting yourself in trouble. You just sort of stay patient and let them make mistakes, and yeah, just put the pressure on, lean on your forwards, and let them carry you through the game. So yeah, that's how the Blues want to play. I think they will be able to enforce that on the Drua this week, even though it is in Fiji. And if it is wet as well, I think that will help them even more in that respect. But honestly, you never know with the Drua, and you just never know when it's in Fiji as well. Like crazy things, they always happen in Fiji. So never say never, but I got to make a prediction. So that's what it is. And I'm going to say the Blues will take it by 10 points. Coming up straight after that game on the Friday night as well, we have the Waratahs versus the Reds in Sydney. Home game for the Tars. Looking at the teams list, probably the biggest thing to note for the Waratahs is that Dave Poroki is finally back in that number 2 jersey. In my opinion, they've really missed this guy since he got injured. He's really been very strong at line-out time and in the maul. So that's a huge boon for him to be back. Charlie Gamble's back as well. It feels like he's been out for a few weeks now as well, and yeah, that just adds a bit more muscle to that forward pack for the Waratahs, which they do need quite sorely, in my opinion. Looking at the Reds, probably the biggest news for them is that Filippo Delgunu is finally back. He gets a start, but it will be in the midfield at 13 rather than on the wings where I think he is best. Kind of been forced though. It looks like Hunter Paisami, there's no sign of him here, so he must still be injured. And we have seen Delgunu play a lot at 13, so not going to be a huge issue for them. He will slot right in. Still no sign of Harry Wilson for the Reds. He's a big name that they're really missing. So not a full strength team here for the Reds. No Matt Fesler either, but we've seen these guys play a lot this year. So yeah, they're capable replacements. They're not hamstrung. So this will still be a very strong Red side. And I do kind of favor them winning this game over the Tars. I mean, the only thing to really give you pause is that with the Waratahs, they've looked poor so often, but at home, they've scored some really big wins over the likes of the Chiefs and the Brumbies as well. So, is it just a coincidence, or are the Tars at home in Sydney the real deal? I mean, you can't underestimate that factor, really, and it's been a theme for this entire season of Super Rugby. Like, it's been very unpredictable, and teams have been very strong at home. So the Reds, they won't be taking the Tars lightly, I don't think, but they do have the edge up front. They should be able to outmuscle them, and I mean, they're not too shabby in the backs as well. Jock Campbell returning a couple weeks ago, that's been quite good for them. So yeah, I think this has potential to be quite a good game. It really depends on the Tars and yeah, whether they manage to show up at home. I'm still going to tip the Reds though. I think it could be close, but I'm going to say they take it by 8 points. And after that, on the Saturday evening, we have what is probably the game of the round. Crusaders versus Chiefs in Christchurch. At the moment, the weather forecast is golden, so conditions will be good. And yeah, looking at the lineups, very strong lineup for the Crusaders here. They aren't at full strength in general. We saw Taha Kemera get injured in his last game, I think against the Highlanders, quite a bad injury as well. He's been replaced by Revez Reihana, interestingly. I kind of thought they might stick with James O'Connor now that we're getting to the business end of the season and they got a really big game here, but no, they're going to go with Revez Reihana. O'Connor is still on the bench if they need him. Another thing of note here as well is that Braden Ennell is back. He's in the 13 jersey. Haven't seen a lot of him this year. He has been injured. When he did play, he looked good though. And for the Chiefs, probably the biggest news here is that Damian McKenzie, he is finally back and he is in the 10 jersey as well. A lot of people saying he was pretty sorely missed in that big win by the Hurricanes over the Chiefs last week in Wellington. And I do kind of have to agree with that Hurricanes rush defense really shut down those channels outside of 10 really hard for Josh Jacob. Kind of interested to see if things go the same way this week because the Crusaders, they do have a rush defense as well. So it's going to be a similar sort of situation. Other news of note for these lineups probably is that Wallace Satiti, he is finally getting a start. We saw him come back a couple of weeks ago. He's sort of been coming off the bench, getting pretty limited game time, but no, this time he is getting a start. That moves Luke Jacobson to 7, where I do really like him, to be honest. And looking at the back lines, things are looking back to normal. And the bench as well. Finally back to a 5-3 bench. The last few weeks, the Chiefs have been forced into a 6-2 bench just because all of their backs have just been injured. And they haven't been able to field a full contingent of backs on their bench. So that is a good sign for the Chiefs. And yeah, they're going to be smarting after that defeat against the Hurricanes. I mean, the Hurricanes, they were at home, but it's got to shake your confidence a little bit. Can't fault the Hurricanes at all, though. They played extremely well. I feel like they really turned a corner after that Brumbies game with their midfield coming back and putting love at 10. So, yeah, the Chiefs, I mean, they are still an extremely strong team despite that. And this is a top of the table clash. Like the Chiefs, they're going to want to go down there and beat the Crusaders because that'll give them so much confidence, right? Like if you can go down there and beat the Crusaders at home, like whatever happens, you've got to believe that you can win the whole thing if you can do that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. I've been looking forward to it for weeks, to be honest. And I kind of don't know how it's going to go. Like, I really don't. I mentioned the Crusaders, they do kind of have that defense that comes up very quickly, just like the Canes are doing last week against the Chiefs. So I'm super interested to see how the Chiefs adapt to it. They've got to have learned a lot from that game against the Canes, to be honest. So they should come with some tricks up their sleeves in terms of that. But I mean, we know the Crusaders, they're an attacking powerhouse as well. So yeah, the Chiefs, I mean, they're going to have to be on point with their defense too. But all I know is that this game, it's going to be great to watch, and it's probably going to be close. It's probably going to come down to the wire. I mean, like that Canes game, it could be close for the first half, and then maybe something happens. There's a card, and that cracks it open. But otherwise, yeah, I feel like this game will go down to the wire. I'm going to pick the Crusaders, though, because they are at home. The conditions are good. There's probably going to be a good crowd there, a lot of support behind them. So I'm going to say the Crusaders take it by 3 points. And straight after that game, we have the last but not least game of the round. Force versus the Brumbies at HBF Park in Perth. Conditions, as usual, are going to be fantastic in Perth. Good for running rugby. Looking at these lineups for the Force, I mean, they're not at full strength. They're still missing a few big names, but it is pretty much the same as last week, so there's going to be a lot of consistency there. Probably the biggest thing of note is that Nick White, he is still remaining on the bench. He has not got his start back since he returned from injury. Kurtley Beale, this will be his second game back as well, his second start. He was very good against the Blues. Great to see him there again, and looking forward to seeing him play. Looking at the Brumbies, also a lot of consistency here. Probably the biggest thing to note is that Billy Pollard is out, so Lockie Lonergan has had to come in. And this Liam Boron guy, I don't think I've seen him before. He joins the bench as well. Another thing of note is that Tom Hooper's actually gone to 8 for this game. I don't think we've seen that all year, but Tom Hooper, he normally plays in that 6 jersey where he has been very, very strong and consistent all year. So kind of interested to see how he goes in that 8 jersey. And as far as the matchup goes, I mean, these two teams, they did play very early in the season, and the Force actually beat the Brumbies at GIO Stadium in Canberra. So they do have the wood on them so far this season. And the Force, they have been very good at home this year. I've consistently been underrating them, but yeah, everyone that goes to Perth just has a really, really hard time, even the New Zealand team. So you can't underestimate the Force at home. I do think, though, that since these teams first met at the start of the year, I do feel like the Brumbies have improved a lot more. I mean, that game last week against the Tars, they looked pretty lethal. And even in that game against the Hurricanes where they lost at home, I mean, They did not play terribly in that game against a resurgent Hurricanes. So yeah, the Brumbies, they are coming into form. I think they're coming into good form leading into the business end of the season. And with the Force, I mean, they've been good. And even in the games where they've lost, like on tour in New Zealand, playing against the Chiefs, the Blues, they've had a lot of points put against them, but they've looked extremely good in the early stages of those games, man. Like they are able to put these top teams under pressure, but I think what lets them down is that they're not potent enough. Like they're able to get territory, command a lot of position. They can get themselves into good positions, but they're not able to put teams to the sword. They're not able to convert opportunities enough to really build up good scoreboard pressure. A lot of the points that have been scored, they have come through the maul. They've really had to rely on that a lot. And I mean, look, that's not a bad thing to kind of rely on. The maul is an extremely potent part of the game, but they just need to be able to finish off another layer of opportunities on top of that. And then that would really graduate them into being a genuine threat and contender team. But yeah, I feel like even now in the business end of the season, they don't quite have that. They've definitely been bolstered a lot by Harry Potter and Kurtley Beale and the returns of Kunzel, but yeah, it's still just not quite enough. Like those guys can't do it by themselves. So I expect this game will be good though. I mean, games in Perth just always seem to be really good. It's always such great conditions there for running rugby, and I expect it will be an open running game. I am going to tip the Brumbies, though. I think they're just going to want revenge. They're going to want revenge for dropping that game earlier in the season. So I'm going to tip the Brumbies, but I'll say it's going to be close, and I'll say they win by 7 points. Anyway, guys, that'll do it from me. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy the games this weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.